that what if the who is somebody who has missed priority? What if the who is somebody who doesn't have a bearing? It could be a spouse, it could be a director, it could be whoever that has missed priority.
Well, the two are not mutually exclusive. That is, the who has within himself the vision, the priority. Because in the Christian culture, you want to help people, you want to encourage people, you want to strengthen people. But I think that if it was not a Christian organization or any group, when someone is not performing, you either send him for training or send him to the area that is performing. And so the goal is not to put square peg into round hole. So the person that is the who must understand the vision. Now, if a person is leading you, either politically or from voting, from all these things, and it's not well. If it is marriage, my own, I will say, stick to your marriage, adapt to your wife or to your husband, and look for safe, wise way. But if it's in a Christian culture you marry, keep to it, ask God for strength, ask God for power, look for wisdom to get through it. But there's also a limit when it gets beyond that. But if it's another institution, maybe like somewhere else, follow the due processes of instituting change. But also make sure that you also is not just looking at the leader without contributing towards that organization. So it's what I'm saying, that check your responsibility. Just as Stephen Covey said, he said every one of us have an area of influence, an area of focus. Do your own area of influence and focus. Then you have time to begin to see what your neighbor is not doing. But just to allow your whole life to be focused on your neighbor or your leader will be very judgmental and wrong.
Thank you so much for that one. Please let us celebrate our pastor. There is this question here. This person is asking this question coming from your experience, has been in the leadership business for over 3 decades, speaking about leadership. And this is a blend between leadership and governance. The person is asking, is it possible to be in governance and still maintain integrity in the midst of so much corruption?
Well, depending on who you are, Romans 12 says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It has a lot to do with your mindset. In life, there are negotiables. And in life, there are non-negotiables. But in everything, we must show love. So the Christian has his own negotiable. It may not be completely wrong or right. Do you get me? If, for example, somebody told me to bribe, I can use what he told me to gain him, to look for a way to create better relationship. You know, if a student fails an exam, you know, and there's another major exam there, I can tutor him, train him, rather than saying you don't know anything, get out. So that by the next time the exam is coming, he does well. But also in this life, there are non-negotiables, which clearly infringes on your values. That one, there's no go area. But in everything, you must love. Let me tell you, I have been in many positions which no one asked me to compromise. And people who have been in that same position tell me that they have had situations which people tell them to compromise. It seems to me that when people know who you are, when people know what you stand for, and they know that you are not fake, before you know, they will treat you that way. But when they know that your words and your work are different. Somebody say you are not tempted with smoking if you have no intention to smoke. You are not tempted with fish if you don't take fish. It is the area of your susceptibility that devil has his greatest power. So when people notice in you that you are so susceptible to this, they can tempt you with it. So as much as possible, when people are giving you offers, check who you are and check what people believe in. People even tell me, I know you will not do this. I know you don't believe in this. So they don't just go around you to talk to you. All they can do is to make sure you don't get to that position. But when they see that without you, because honesty is not all. Honesty must be backed up with competence. If you say you are honest, you are righteous, you are good, but you are incompetent. Sometimes people will prefer a competent crook sometimes than an honest, no good person. So in any sense, a balanced competence with honesty. And in any situation that confronts you, you have already set up a standard. And people will not tempt you with what they know is almost impossible.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, speaking about exams, you talked about, in your presentation, you talked about 100% success. And you've talked about this several times in positions you have held in terms of as an examiner for different bodies. And that the metric sometimes to measure a good teacher is whether the students are passing or not. What do you do when you have candidates or students or even followers who are no good? They are not good at doing anything, especially passing an exam, for example. How do you achieve 100% success as a teacher when you don't have 100% success in the students?
Well, what I'm saying that be sure that you have given enough attention to that student. I always tell people that exams ought not to be punitive, they are prescriptive. And I've also felt that exams are better formative than summative. So when a person is in school, you know his weak points, and you identify that student, and you create a specialized tutoring or training for that student. If at the end of the day the student doesn't do well, you know you have done your best. But just to say they don't know anything, they cannot pass, all those dismissive statements, all those statements that injure the human psychic are not permissible. Your aim is always to be a dealer in hope. I can tell you, I have seen people, they say they have cerebral palsy, did great things. I've seen people have condemned. People condemned Albert Einstein. Thomas Edison, he was called Tommy the Dumb. And he became one of the greatest people in the world. So we should never give up on people. We should always seek ways to help them. And it is that time, it is that painstaking time that the teacher learns to invest on his students that makes him a great teacher. Now the question comes, do we come to a point when we say, this student, you are no good? For me, just like as an editor of a magazine, a journal, journals have, when you write on journals, the way you have to meet a particular standard to be published. And because I know too that making research in a country like this, with all the difficulties and so on, when somebody is rejected, I look for ways, constructive ways, to attempt either to go back to that work, redo the things, or represent somewhere else. I don't just say, you are no good, your grammatical error is bad, your method is bad, everything is bad, without giving you a pathway for survival. And this is the spirit of Jesus. Jesus identifies himself with the nobody, with the no good, with the stupid. He said, look among you, how many wise men, how many noble men, how many great men, but God has chosen the foolish things of the world. So the mentality of a Christian is always to see everything from an attitude of grace, from the philosophy of grace. And grace is always restorative rather than punitive.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a great one coming from you, sir. Somebody's asking this question that some followers are very difficult to control. This is coming from your presentation. That some followers are very difficult to control. When you assign them on a task, they come back to you giving excuses. At what point should you do away with such a follower? And then should you go on doing it yourself or continue to give that person a try?
Let us accept the fact that pain is part of leadership. If you don't, if you think that a leader is not supposed to have pain, and the pain sometimes comes from your followers, but at the same time, pain is very purposeful, and it's also very formative, and it prepares you for a higher office. So your disciple, I believe in reverse mentorship. You mentor someone, and later the person you mentor mentors you. And mentorship sometimes doesn't always have to be positive, it has to be negative. For example, I have been even in our local church when I train people to be good. When I returned recently, I gave pens to every single person in the workers group. I gave chocolate to every children in the group. And I gave some people gifts. Now, the average number that attends the church is 1,000. But they were not up to 20 people who say thank you. Not that I was looking for that thank you, but you can see how you feel, especially when you know that maybe you have to carry chunks of chocolate and maybe have an excess luggage. But to me, it trained me as a leader to realize that I should do good without expecting response. And thereby I'm mature. But I can go about and start complaining, nobody said thank you. Next time I will not do it. So people's reaction should not make you move from the next time of negativity to rather to move you to the tomorrow of positivity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Please help me celebrate our pastor for that massive one. Somebody's asking that you talked about books during your presentation, about all of the great people who have stockpile of books in their library. And I've also had the privilege to work with you, and I see that you have a lot of books. For example, your last trip, you bought a lot of books that I had the opportunity to see some of them. Somebody's asking, somebody who is struggling to take care of the family, somebody who has never been paid salary for 5 months, for example, for different situations, and somebody who prioritizes health. Where should books and investing in learning come in for that kind of person?
I think you should be very careful of prefacing your faith with a negativity. Don't face things in life with looking for your obstacles. Face things in life in looking for opportunity. And let me tell you, you don't need too much to buy books. There are libraries all over the world. There are volumes of books on the internet. There are several. In fact, if you can. When I traveled recently, just being on the internet, you can listen to very wonderful things and read several things. Moreover, I don't believe a man who has 5 senses, a man who is breathing, existing on this earth, will say there is no money. Nobody has the keys to money than God. Just like a student who told me one time that a demon took his brain. I said, run after this demon and collect your brain. I don't think we should not allow the circumstances define our life. Rather, we should use that circumstances as an opportunity to elevate our God.
Please help me celebrate Professor G. Rabo for that. Yeah, that's a powerful one. Do not always preface your life with negativity. I think that's a really strong one. Speaking about this leadership conference and this Premium Masterclass, a week or 2 weeks before now, your message was strongly on diversifying, investing in opportunities, and trying to take advantage of the things around. So I want to ask, and the BOI is also here. Somebody asked this question that how do I seek partners and mentors in terms of bringing up an idea that it will not be stolen, because patency right and all of these things everywhere is going on everywhere. Somebody's asking, how do I discuss with somebody or a mentor or even with a partner and my idea will not be stolen?
I've heard of this stolen philosophy too much. There's a group of people on one extreme who will not tell you they are traveling. If they have a new thing to do, they will not tell anybody for fear that somebody will get to know and block you, or a particular spirit will know about it. Then there is the other extreme of people who are so free. Even when they have any new idea, they tell everyone. I believe we should not be in the two extremes. Ideas, when you bring them out, sometimes they come as a raw material. I will need a lot of fertile minds to produce a synthetic product. When you are too secretive, you lose the beauty of variety. You lose the beauty of critical scrutiny of your work towards the pathway of perfection. And when you are too verbose, you lose those strength within you that allows you to execute it. Because by the time you start talking things you have not done, your energy dissipated in just announcing what you have not done, and so you don't have enough energy to face your tasks. So between those two extremes, be cautious with those you tell, but for goodness sake, never be secretive. When we wrote our mission statement some time ago, it was very original. Somebody took that mission statement to a church, a very big church in this country, and somebody told me they are using it. I said, what does it matter to me? If two people are using the same mission statement, and if you don't even cite the original, what does it matter to me? And as I think nobody has said it, he said, when people, I paraphrase my own way, when you attack, raise your standard up, rather than allowing the attack you receive from people to bring you to their level. You see? So I wouldn't rather be protecting nothing. I will be protecting more. I mean, for example, today, if you go to our diagnosis center, we have a hall. They're very beautiful, air-conditioned, wonderful chairs, beautiful windows. I will say, let us have that meeting here so that people will see. I said, look, you don't allow one victory to be exhausted when you don't have others to match it. I said, I prefer to have 3 or 4 layers of victory before I go to the social media. So what I'm trying to illustrate to you is that don't focus on people stealing. Don't be negative about people. Somebody may have the idea and then help you. So don't always, don't tell somebody. Somebody told me that, I remember when I told somebody something, I didn't travel again. All my life I've been telling people when I'm traveling, I've always been traveling. You see, a lot of the things we speak as Christians and as human beings has a lot to do with our minds. I can tell you, many Christians' statements I know, including non-Christians, are basically superstitious. Your mind creates some of these phantoms you have. If you don't believe, I remember when my mother was young, when she was pregnant with the last baby, somebody went to drop an egg by her side. And the theory they had was that when my mother moves and the egg cracks, the child will die. Then my mother woke up and said, people say, don't use the egg. He said, bring the egg, I want to boil it and eat it. As far as she was concerned, the egg has nothing. I mean, if today I go and somebody told me, oh, he was serving Ogun, and this is fish, this is meat, and rice. As long as nobody's around, I'll just say in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I cancel Ogun, I cancel Shago, go to river, Ogun go to somewhere I came from, and I eat my food. But there are some Christians that will tell you immediately you eat it, you enter demonized. And because they think that way, they are like that. As a man thinketh, so he is.
Thank you so much, sir. As a final question, sir. As a final question, and then before I ask you to give your final words, given this program today, I want you to help us respond to the question that Professor Nebo was asked, because it's also part of what you talked about. That what do you do as a leader when your life as a leader is being threatened by the people you are trying to create change for? For example, in this city and in different places you've gone, you've tried to institutionalize change. Sometimes, have you had personal experience of when your life is even under threat? What do? Do you quit, or do you try to be a martyr?
Well, let me say this. I found that in life, there must be a spiritual, invisible backup for everything you do in the visible. Because if you don't have it, you will break down. That is it. I mean, I was telling these people, he said, I came here to this city by culture, I'm a Benin person. Now, Ife is the center of Yoruba civilization. And I know very well that churches thrive in cultural terms. Just watch, if an Igbo man has a church, what happens? Igbos go there. If a Yoruba man has a church, Yorubas go there. If an Hausa man has a church, Hausa go there. I faced the challenge of starting a church here because it was deeply rooted in cultural nuances. But I said to myself, I can keep on saying, go to where you'll be culturally accepted, maybe a cosmopolitan town. And virtually, I've had somebody told me, go back to your country. I can tell you, somebody that told me, you must go back to your country. Now, the person was big than me. I couldn't tell him, is this not my country? So rather than seeing that in the negative perspective, I took it as a challenge to start a church that says, look, in Christ, there is neither Igbo, Yoruba, anything. And years later, a man came from Guardian newspaper, an Igbo man. On one of the days in our church, he sat down there. He looked at the whole church. Then at the end of the day, he came to me. He said, you are a Christian. I said, why? This is why I'm a Christian. He said, I believe now you are a Christian. He said, why? He said, you are a Benin man. And you could be head of such a fantastic building in another culture. You are a Benin man. He said, how did Nigeria would do that? But to me, I have already had in my mind that where I come from does not define me, and where I come from, I don't build a tabernacle around it. I'm a global person. Sometimes when we are talking, when we are discussing, people say, hey, brethren, let's pray, Nigeria must rise up. Yes, it's okay, but I'm not a Nigerian as such. I'm a citizen of heaven, an ambassador in Nigeria. And so I don't allow Nigerian mentality keep me. I told you that all the great things that have ever been done in the world have been done by people in diaspora. Yes, the Jews established their greatness not in Israel, but outside Israel. So I am local in terms that I was born in a place called Benin. I'm local in terms that I stay in a place called Ife, but I'm global. That the wind may blow me anywhere. Although if the wind blow me to, to Bogon, I'll say, please, reblow. But if it blows me to a very nice country, I say, just wait for some time. Well, on a more serious note, look, no matter the challenges you face, let it not disturb what you think is right. And let me tell you, Nigeria is sick. Yesterday, I wanted to buy some foreign exchange, and they said it was $7.15 per dollar. And even the people that I wanted to buy for said they don't even have. But I believe a new dawn will come. I don't know how I can explain. Would you ever believe that America will have a black president? The truth about it is that when we don't stop giving hope, I have never seen light, darkness supersede light. Darkness is receding. They may have, a darkness may have 10,000 powers and work for 10,000 years, but one day, being called darkness, it will be thrown into the abyss of hell. So no matter the darkness around you, and that's what I'm going to conclude, never give up on hope. Never give up on the fact that your life can change. Never give up on the fact that you can be an agent of change. Never give up on the fact that your country will change. It may not happen in your lifetime, or it could happen in your lifetime. Even if it doesn't happen in your lifetime, round about you. I mean, you look at here now. Ask anybody 10 years ago, could you say a church in a city like Ife will have air condition? You won't believe it. People say, how can you put air conditioner? When I was finished, I said, how can you put air conditioner in the church? It's not why should it happen. No air conditioner, not the church, you need to be there. Just simple things. But things are changing. People's thinking are changing. People's culture are changing. To make a change, you have to fight the forces of resistance. To make a change, you have to fight the forces of sameness. To make a change, you have to fight the demons who believe they cannot go. But the Bible says, these two shall go with what? Fasting and praying. And fasting means longevity. It means long suffering. It means tenacity. It means persistence. And one day, the darkness that cloud your life, the darkness that cloud our nation, the darkness that cloud our city, will give room to the marvelous light of God. And you will be alive to see it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Please help me celebrate our pastor. Help me celebrate our pastor. Please help me celebrate our pastor. Help me celebrate. Please, I don't mind a standing ovation to celebrate our pastor. Help me celebrate our pastor. Thank you so much. I believe that we have been richly blessed today. Have we been blessed today? Have we been blessed today? If you have been blessed today, tomorrow your blessings will be double. Because tomorrow there will be double session to be